man. I almost don't know how to start this video off. Spider-Man No Way Home is yet another film in the MCU. It is the third solo Spider-Man film that they've had in the MCU, and it is the final chapter to John Watts and his Spider-Man Home trilogy or whatever. This film brings back a lot of the characters that you have seen in previous films. I mean, you've got Tom Holland as Peter Parker and Spider-Man, Zendaya as MJ, Jacob Batalon returns as Ned. You've also got Marissa Tomei as Aunt May, Jon Favreau as Happy. You've got a host of other villains from other Spider-Man movies from the past. So you've got Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. You've got Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn, Jamie Foxx as Electro. I'm gonna be incredibly vague here because, like I said, this is a non-spoiler video. I will have a spoiler video up probably Monday, but for now, I'm gonna try to talk about this movie without spoiling, and oh my God, it is so hard to do that. But in general, let's keep the shit vague. Okay, so Peter Parker, AKA Spider-Man. If you watched Far From Home, which is the film that came out before this, I think back in 2019, then you know how that film ended. That film ended with Mysterio exposing Peter's identity as Spider-Man to the world. So now in this movie, he has to deal with the ramifications of that, and not only how it affects his life as Spider-Man, but how it's affecting everybody around him. So he decides to go to Doctor Strange and ask Doctor Strange for help to make the world forget about him being Spider-Man. Lo and behold, after things don't go well, this world starts getting a bunch of visitors from other worlds throughout the multiverse. And so now Peter has to figure out how to fix the situation that he helped create. And that's all I really want to say here. That's all I really can say, because all of that was apparent in the trailers. Holy shit, holy fuck, holy mother of... Oh, emotionally, I gotta keep it together here. Oh my God, this movie made me feel things, guys. It made me feel things as a Spider-Man fan, as a fan of cinema. This movie made me feel things. All kinds of things. I mean, happiness, sadness, excitement, horniness. I had endorphins running through my goddamn body this entire movie. I don't even really know what endorphins are. Whatever endorphins are, I was feeling all of that during this movie. You want to talk about spider sense tingling? I was tingling in other ways while watching this film, and that is because this film is epic in every sense of the word. This movie has a little bit of everything. It has the humor, it has the action, it has real, tangible, emotional stakes, which is something that I know people have asked for from the MCU Spider-Man for a while now, and you're finally getting it in this movie. Tom Holland, he's been really good as Peter Parker and Spider-Man in other movies, in my personal opinion. Sometimes the movies around him have been kind of a mess in different spots, but Tom Holland has usually been good. He was great in this movie. Not good, great. This is easily, hands down, his best performance. I can't spoil why the emotions are running high in this movie, but just suffice it to say that the way he brought it in certain scenes almost brings a tear to your eye because of how real it feels. And that goes for everybody else in the movie too. Zendaya, probably her best performance as MJ, and she and Peter have even better chemistry this time around as a couple trying to navigate the wild wackiness of having your boyfriend's secret identity exposed to the entire world. A lot of people are gonna be throwing around buzzwords like nostalgia and fan service and stuff like that, to which I would say, yes, this movie has nostalgia. Yes, it has lots of fan service. For me, nostalgia and fan service really should be in the service of the story. They should be additions to the story, things that add to what makes the movie special, not get in the way or hinder it or slow it down. To have a good enough, strong enough story that can stand on its own two legs, and then you have the nostalgia and the fan service to add to it. To me, that's the best way to do it. It's not just, oh, here, look at this cool thing, this cool callback that you've seen before. Oh, hey, here's a reference that you might appreciate. Not just that for the sake of just that. It's that, but it's also being added to everything that the movie is also doing. And in my opinion, this movie does fan service and nostalgia the right way. It doesn't just apply to the villains, who are all great. Like, they all get their moments to shine. Definitely Willem Dafoe is the standout here. He is more menacing, more evil, more fucked up than he's ever been before. Green Goblin in this movie single-handedly causes maybe even more damage than he did in the original Raimi film. So peak crazy old man energy, and Willem Dafoe absolutely brings it. Like, Like, he's in his 60s and he's still bringing it as Green Goblin. Like I said, all the villains are not just there for nostalgia. They all have their purpose. They all feel like well-developed versions of the characters that we've already seen. So it feels like a natural progression for them in this movie. And sure, some of the MCU humor feels a little bit weird when it's surrounding these characters. Speaking of the story, this is a tragic and epic story that traverses the multiverse, that deals with Peter Parker and Spider-Man and the consequences of the life you choose. Focusing on the consequences between doing the wrong thing for the right reasons or doing the right thing and getting the wrong results. This movie has a lot to say about why it's so difficult to be Spider-Man, why his life is so hard, and the kind of choices that he has to make constantly that are always putting his need for responsibility and duty against the things that he loves. People have complained in the past about a lot of bland color grading, a lot of gray in some of the shots for the filters for these movies, but I would say in this movie, yeah, there's some of that, but I would also say that the movie is actually more colorful and more vibrant and more exciting to look at than really any of the other Spider-Man movies in this trilogy. There's actual good color grading here, and I for one was pleasantly surprised. I did not expect that. The action sequences are huge and larger than life, and there's so much I was about to say there that was gonna be a spoiler, but I'm not gonna do it. The thing I also want to single out is Michael Giacchino. Is it Giacchino or Giacchini? I'm just gonna call him Michael G. I think I've called him Michael G in previous movies. Best score that he's composed for the Spider-Man movies, but it's also one of the best scores in the MCU. There's a lot of operatic sadness, some bombastic cues that really take all of the tension and all of the stakes in this movie to another level. I love the music in this movie. I love the theme, not just for the main Spider-Man, but all of the themes for all of the different people that show up in this movie. The film is reasonably well paced. It actually does have some funny moments in it, even though it's an MCU movie, so you know some of the humor is going to be very hit or miss. Some really huge crowd-pleasing moments that I'm sure are going to drive fans crazy. I mean, hell, the 2 screenings that I went to, fans were going nuts in the audience. This is definitely an in-game level type of Spider-Man event. One of the best films of 2021, and it's easily one of the best films in the MCU. It's one of the best Spider-Man movies of all time. Seriously, this movie didn't just floor me, it bent me over, spread my legs, and okay, that's a little bit too far for a video like this. Does the movie have problems? Of course the fucking movie has problems. Every fucking movie has problems, not just in the MCU, but in life in general. You could nitpick, you could point out a bunch of flaws with some of these movies. I do have some things, some issues with this movie that obviously I can't spoil, but I'll try to do my best to elaborate here. I do think the first 30 minutes of the movie was a little bit choppy from a tone standpoint. It felt like in the first 30 minutes, they still had to get through their prerequisite of MCU jokes and banter and quips and silly situations, and it kind of clashed with the serious, more gritty story that they were trying to tell here. Like, there would be scenes where there's serious shit going down, and then like the very next scene, it would feel like a very happy and upbeat scene, and it would go back and forth and transition between these scenes so fast that it felt a little bit jarring. I would also say that when it comes to some of the other villains in this movie, especially the ones outside of the main big 3 that have been pushed and advertised so much, some of these villains are not given as much to do as some other villains. Some of them feel like they're just kind of there for exposition and for fighting scenes. There's just some plotting issues involving characters where something happens that affects the plot. I thought some of the way that they handled some of these issues was a little bit lazy, a little bit dumb. It's not just a great Spider-Man film. This is a great film, period, and I hope that you guys get a chance to see it as soon as possible. That was a difficult video to get through without spoilers. You guys know what rating I'm gonna give this one. It gets high marks, Superman Prime. If you have seen it, where does it rank among your favorite Spider-Man movies? Give me your personal ranking in the comment section down below. Stay tuned for a spoiler video. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And if you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.